Hey, Rick Sayes here. Welcome to Season 3 of the Outdoor Biz Podcast, recorded at the Surf City Studios in Costa Mesa, California. I have another great season of interviews with retailers, brand managers, athletes, executives, and others in the outdoor biz to share their stories, tips, advice, productivity tricks and hacks, and ideas you can use to take your career business to the next level. Today's podcast is brought to you by WordPress. I've used WordPress to build a number of websites, including Stillwater's Consulting and the Outdoor Biz Podcast. There are a number of themes and plugins available both free and for purchase, enabling you to easily create the custom look and feel you want. If you're starting an online business, publishing a blog, and looking to take your online presence to the next level, visit theoutdoorbizpodcast.com/WordPress and get going today. With simple installation tools and thousands of themes to choose from, you'll be up and running in no time. Go to theoutdoorbizpodcast.com/WordPress and get your site launched today. On today's episode, Bryan Martin from City Mountaineers tells us how he got into the outdoor lifestyle, his first job with the Nature Conservancy, and all the great work done by City Mountaineers. Enjoy. Good morning, Bryan. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. It's great to be here.
Yeah, great to have you on. So we were just talking. I bumped into Jeff Wiedemann in the aisles at OR recently and said, hey, I got to get you guys on the show at the BCM. How do we do that? And here we are. We made it happen.
Awesome.
That's awesome.
Yeah, he's been an incredible ally to us and longtime volunteer and board member. And, it's been great to get to know him and work with him over the past few years. And
yeah, he's a great guy.
He just means a lot to City Mountaineers.
Yeah, he's done a lot for you guys over the years. Yeah, and he was really close to Skip. I was, close to Skip, but not as close as some of these guys. So I never got to go on one of those adventures with him. I got to go visit him at his place in Kansas, which was amazing. We
Cool.
did a deep dive on the JanSport history of gear, which was pretty cool. But yeah, he is sorely missed.
Absolutely. Nope, miss him a lot.
Yeah. So how did you get inspired to pursue a life in the outdoors? What was your first exposure to the outside outdoors?
I have to kind of go back to, when I was a little kid, as I kind of think a little bit back, my dad was born and raised in New York City, kind of in the Flushing area.
Oh, wow.
But, he met my mom, and my mom was, a little bit more, from the country. She was, kind of born and raised in Pennsylvania. That's where I grew up, kind of in the Lehigh Valley area. My mom's parents, so my grandparents, my maternal grandparents were, really connected to the outdoors, not so much in a, kind of high octane adventure kind of way, but just in a, being exposed to, nature and kind of being around it. And they, in retirement, owned some land, 10 acres, kind of in the Appalachian Hill country in Pennsylvania. And that abutted to 10 more acres that her sister, my great aunt, owned. And my brother and I just kind of stumbled around on that land for, summer after summer after summer.
Oh, man, that's great. So that was your playground.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And that led to, going to Hawk Mountain and hiking the Appalachian Trail,
right.
And, getting involved in the Eco Club in high school, and
cool.
All the things that kind of slowly led me to this love, this appreciation for the outdoors. And when I got to college, went to Penn State, I just knew that this was going to be my career path.
Oh, cool.
I feel like I'm lucky in that I never had one of those kind of intersectional moments where I was like, am I going to do the workaday life, or am I going to kind of pursue my passion? It just felt like I was always going to do that. And so through undergrad, worked on an outdoor rec and park management degree at Penn State, and immediately dove into work within the conservation community in the nonprofit sector in Washington, D.C. Upon graduation, my first job was with the Nature Conservancy in Arlington, Virginia.
Gotcha. So you've been on the nonprofit side forever then?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
that's
absolutely.
Great. Yeah, that's funny.
My
I
whole
did
career.
I did the same thing. I kind of stumbled around My grandfather turned me into the outdoors and discovered that I could get a degree in it, and the rest is history.
You're right, exactly.
So
Yeah.
your first outdoor job was with Nature Conservancy. Were you? Was that an internship, or was that a low-level clerk job? What was that?
First job out of college. Of course, I did have some internships and some other job experiences between school years when I was at Penn State. But the Nature Conservancy job was my first kind of quote unquote real job after graduating. Right. And it was an awesome experience, incredible springboard to have a career in conservation in the outdoors. Obviously, the Nature Conservancy is a huge organization, can certainly be a bit overwhelming, but there's so many amazing people there, so much talent. If you want to get a crash course in, how to run a nonprofit, how to be strategic as a nonprofit organization, learn about fundraising, which is so critical for, any nonprofit professional. Right. TNC is definitely, got it going. So really, really enjoyed the few years that I spent at the Nature Conservancy, but was ready to get out west, just kind of, ran out of steam kind of living in Washington, D.C.
Well, that was really, Nature Conservancy was so big, even though it was an outdoor connected job, it was pretty office-like and, right? Administrative.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep,
That'd be
absolutely. Yeah. So in that regard, while you're right, I was in D.C., kind of doing the office workaday thing, I was able to get out to so many cool places that they were operating, and see the preserves and work with the scientists and just see all the ways that they, touch, landscape level conservation around the country.
And what a great education too on how all that works and how to make an impact.
Absolutely. Yeah. Kind of slowly but surely kind of became a little bit more connected with the state chapter in Colorado. And that state chapter director at the time, Mark Burgett, and was able to finagle my way to the Colorado office in 2001. And that's when I really kind of settled into a life out west, a life here in Colorado, and, have been able to kind of continue my career in the nonprofit space, now these kind of 2 decades now, I guess.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah. And so how did you originally get involved with Big City Mountaineers?
Kind of fast forward from those TNC days, just really began to kind of, grow my roots in Colorado, and moved on from them eventually to take on some increasingly more responsible roles with other nonprofits in the along the Front Range, having worked for the Continental Divide Trail Coalition, was the director of conservation at the Colorado Mountain Club for a little while. And all of these jobs, kind of brought me around to the American Mountaineering Center. Obviously, CMC is headquartered there.
Yep.
And so got to really interact with a lot of great outdoor nonprofits, conservation-related nonprofits, some doing, access work, some doing advocacy work around specific landscapes or public lands. And kind of slowly but surely just, became aware of so many great organizations doing a lot of really important work, close to Denver, close to, the American Mountaineering Center and Golden.
Right.
So many organizations come and have conferences there and, host meetings and things like that. So, became aware of Big City Mountaineers just through that kind of professional network of friends and colleagues that you kind of, develop over the years.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha.
And really appreciated, their mission and what they do, and how important it was to connect more people to the outdoors who might not necessarily have the opportunity or even think about this as being something that's available to them.
Mm-hmm.
And so just really kind of kept an eye on how they were doing, what they were doing for many, many years, but didn't really dig in too deeply.
It's kind of on the fringes, huh? You were were you a member, or were you just kind of just going to some of the meetings, or at that point?
Just kind of hearing about their work through friends and colleagues.
Yep.
And then got to a point in my career where I was kind of looking for that next opportunity, and had always kind of had in the back of my mind a personal professional goal to become an executive director of, one of these great nonprofits that's doing really important work, in the region or around the country. And got to a point where I felt like confident enough to, throw my hat into the ring with regard to some of those open positions. Lucky enough for me, I'm very blessed to, have been kind of looking when BCM was looking.
Good timing.
Obviously, them being in Golden and me kind of already kind of being in the region,
perfect match.
Was a great matchup. And I was very fortunate to have been, selected by the board of directors to, run with the organization. So I've been now the ED at Big City Mountaineers for a little over 3 years.
Oh, good for you. Right. And
so we just finished up our fourth field season with with me in the chair.
And tell us about your experience there. It's been super fun, I'm sure. You get to get out a lot and work with a lot of great folks. Yeah, I bet. Yeah.
It's been amazing. Certainly the first year and a half, definitely kind of the proverbial drinking out of the fire hose.
Right.
Kind of understanding the landscape that we operate in much more deeply. I came from, as I mentioned, more of the kind of public lands access conservation kind of side.
Right.
And I brought, nonprofit management and fundraising chops to the position, but it was a big uphill, and continues to be learning curve for me. Around the youth development aspects of our work, as well
and
as
the programmatical side. I'll bet you didn't have much experience there, huh?
Yeah. As well as continued work and learning and education on the social justice and environmental justice aspects of Big City Mountaineers' work and mission. So it's a really incredible organization. Our mission is to instill critical life skills in under-resourced youth through transformative wilderness mentoring experiences.
Yeah, you guys do great work.
Thank you. And it's been a joy to slowly improve various aspects of the organization, work through, big challenges as well, and solve problems.
Well, you got involved just when the whole environmental outdoor world kind of got turned on its head with the last election.
Yes. Yeah, no question about it. And I think, to be sure, kind of came into the chair when, there was a lot of retraction in the outdoor industry, which was a part of which is a part of Big City Mountaineers, sponsorship base.
Sure, yeah. The consolidation at retail impacted everybody a few years ago. Right. Yeah, still is. Right. Yeah.
Yep. So certainly just kind of seeing those trends and some of those hurdles in front of us, and having to make some really important strategic decisions around how we go forward as an organization, knowing that Obviously, the outdoor industry can't be everything for Big City Mountaineers. We got to diversify how we, bring in revenue so that we can continue to do all this really good work and invest in, the qualities that make BCM, such an important partner in these cities that we're operating in.
What are some of the accomplishments you're most proud of that you've made so far?
I think, to my mind, the big accomplishment is really our ability to stay connected to these youth agency partners that we have such really important and strong relationships with. We have a 95% retention rate with the youth agencies that we partner with.
Wow.
That's telling me that the services that we're providing to them in providing these catalyst experiences outdoors is meaningful and impactful, and they see the impact that our program has on the kids that are coming back to their agency.
Right.
That's a really important thing.
Yeah. Well, some of those projects you guys do has got to be transformative to almost every one of those kids. I mean, you and I did it at a young age and made a life of it, but it's just got to be super impactful.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We've a couple other kind of tick list things that kind of I have on my mind. We maybe touched on it just a second ago, but as we go forward, we're really trying to figure out how to, like I said before, diversify the revenue that comes into the organization.
Right,
so we've done a really good and important job of branching out from this critical and foundational base of the outdoor industry and the sponsors that we have there to more traditional foundations. So how have we been able to kind of get into some of the cities that we're operating in and connect with the philanthropists, the foundations, the perhaps more traditional businesses that are headquartered in those cities, so that we can leverage the great support that we get from the outdoor industry, but then kind of make it more local and, create a much more stable kind of base of funding to kind of run all of our expeditions.
Right.
I think, one of the things that I try to tell everybody I talk to about Big City Mountaineers is, we, kind of from soup to nuts provide everything that the kids and the agencies need to have these week-long backcountry experiences. And we receive no government funding, nor do we have a great percentage of funds coming from, any fee for service. We're really going to these agencies, with a, fully realized plan for how we're going to get their kids, out and into the backcountry, have these exceptional experiences and back home safely.
That's awesome.
So everything is almost 100% private philanthropy at this point.
That's great. Congratulations on that.
Thank you.
Yeah. So you must have had some mentors along the way help you, who have been, obviously Skip has helped us all in so many ways, but who have been some of the mentors that have helped you, move through this transition that you've been through at Big City?
Absolutely. There's been a few, certainly, I had a great academic advisor at Penn State, a guy that's connected to outdoor recreation and managing visitor impact and things like that. A guy by the name of Alan Grafe. He was a great help to me as I kind of sorted through, what my career options were going to be as I was transitioning from Penn State out into the work world.
Right.
Another guy that was another really important friend and mentor to me was Mark Burgett, the state director for the Colorado chapter of the Nature Conservancy back in the late 90s, early 2000s. He kind of inspired me to, give it a shot in Colorado. And, and just has always looked up to him as a really incredible strategic thinker and leader for TNC back then. Was really instrumental in leading the organization through that Great Sand Dunes National Park project that converted the park or converted what was Sand Dunes National Monument into a national park, and preserved a whole bunch of land.
Yeah, I remember that.
Kind of around the dunes and up into the high country, those 14ers up there in the Sangre de Cristo range.
Right.
He was an amazing friend and mentor to me. And then more recently, a gentleman by the name of David Cooper, who's now with the National Recreation and Park Association. He and I overlapped for a year and a half at the Land Trust Alliance. Okay. He was a great friend and mentor to me, not so much around some of these kind of more direct kind of outdoor or recreation oriented pieces, but really kind of helped me understand the importance of fundraising and fundraising culture and fundraising strategy within a nonprofit, and kind of took me under his wing to show me that, as a guy in the nonprofit community and one that does a lot of fundraising, there's not a lot of, men kind of doing this kind of work. So,
and that's a huge part of the job, right?
It's a huge part of the job. Yeah. And so it was just very encouraging and helpful to kind of see a man, in his, early to mid 50s, kind of having made a full career, in this space, as someone that I could look up to a decade and a half younger, and say, hey, I can do this. I can make a go at this and make this, a career that advances me professionally, personally, make sure that I can, take care of, the things that I need to take care of at home with my wife and family. And so he was another great, friend and mentor to me as well. So awesome. Those would be kind of three people that I think about.
That's great. And so obviously you get out and hike. What other outdoor activities do you participate in?
Well, I'm a father of three. Okay. I've got three boys, 10, 7, and 13 months.
Oh my goodness, that keeps you busy. Congratulations on the 13.
Oh, thank you. Thanks. No, we're very happy, and it's a joy to have them. But as such,
you got to do it all.
I've got to do it all. Like going to the water park is a workout.
Right.
Obviously running has become more and more a way that I get out, get away, take a break from everything. I've kind of learned to love it. I wouldn't say that I, have always been a runner, but over the last kind of 7 to 8 years, I'd say, have been doing it more and more. And it's just been a great way to, rev up your heart rate, burn a lot of calories, take your mind off things, and, get you back home to kind of do the duties of being a dad, within an hour.
Yeah, exactly. Right. That's awesome.
But I've also had some great experiences through Big City Mountaineers, to climb up some really awesome mountains. Right. We've got this long-standing fundraising program called Summit for Someone. Yeah. And so I've been able to participate in that a few times. I got to climb the Mountaineers route up Mount Whitney.
Oh, cool.
With Sierra Mountaineering International. I got to participate in the Jansport Mount Rainier climb.
Nice. Yeah, I was on one of those
a couple of summers ago.
Awesome. Did you summit?
Summited, had a wonderful weather window to get to the top on. We were basically just in our base layers when we got there.
Oh, cool.
So really fortunate to have lucked out there.
Yeah, right, yeah.
Got to the top. So that was an amazing experience. And yeah, there's so many fun, like activity-based fundraisers and people out there doing things on behalf of BCM that get you outside and
right.
get you connected to trails and new places that I've never been. So
that's cool.
I was participating in the 8,000 meter challenge the past couple of summers with John Drawlinger and the Three Saints Outdoors team. That's been a great fundraiser for big City Mountaineers. And so I've been able to get up into, those three peaks, San Jacinto, San Gorgonio, and Mount Baldy. It's been fun to use big City Mountaineers as a conduit to kind of explore all these new places.
Very cool. Yeah, those three peaks were the peaks I grew up on. I grew up in Southern California.
Awesome.
Those are probably the first three peaks I ever summited on years ago.
Nice.
So do you have any advice or suggestions for folks wanting to get in the biz, outdoor biz, or if they're already in the business to grow their career?
Yeah. It's a great question. And I every so often, I just kind of really try to stay open to giving time to young professionals, because I certainly remember, myself being in their shoes,
right.
Back in the day.
Yeah.
Hoping and praying I could get that job, that dream job.
Exactly. Yeah.
And the number one thing that I always tell the younger professionals that I sit down with and kind of have these informational interviews with is perseverance. You got to stick with it. You're not going to find the perfect job right away. You might have to supplement. You might even have to supplement your income a little bit. I worked a part-time job, the first couple of years when I was working at the Nature Conservancy.
Yep.
And
we're not in this for the money, that's for sure.
Yeah, but I knew that was the track I needed to be on.
Yeah,
and unless and until I was able to kind of grow my resume a little bit more, I wouldn't be able to get that next opportunity. And so I did what I had to do to stick with it. And I've definitely watched, and again, I kind of think a little bit more about my experience just kind of in the nonprofit sector.
Right.
There's been folks that have, gotten that job and then the, nonprofit falls on hard times and lets a bunch of people go.
Yeah.
And they get discouraged and now they're no longer in the nonprofit sector.
Right. That's public or something. Yeah.
Yeah. And so that's where I kind of come back to kind of that perseverance and tenacity piece. Cause if you want to, make a career in it, there's going to be kind of tough times that you're going to have to be willing to, fight through.
Right.
But at the end of the day, it's going to be so worth it because you're going to look back on an incredible career of having done a lot of great work and having met a lot of great people.
Yeah, you're right. And it sneaks up on you, doesn't it? I mean, you look back and go, wow, I've been doing this for how many years, and it's been fabulous. Yeah.
Well, I was just thinking about it, kind of typing up a little bio for something. And I had to catch myself when I said nearly 20 years of experience. I was like, wow.
Right. What? Where'd they go? I don't remember them. That's awesome. So it sounds like you run a lot. Do you have any other daily routines you use to keep your sanity? You meditate, walk the dog, take the kids out for a... Do the kids run with you at all or bike while you run?
They bike while I run.
Cool.
Yeah,
awesome.
I was just on a run yesterday where I was pushing the baby jogger and there were two bikers kind of zigging and zagging around me.
Very cool. That's awesome.
But then the other great sport that I've been taking a lot of time to learn more about and dig into with my kids has been fishing.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
It was a sport that I did not, participate in a whole lot when I was growing up. I definitely went fishing with my granddad and remember having a little tackle box when I was a kid. But there's so many things to do. I just lost kind of track of that one thing. But when my oldest son came along and we started doing things together, we just found that was just such a fun way to spend time with each other.
Yeah. Yeah.
And now he's 10, and I'd say for the past 3 to 4 years, he and I have been learning about fishing together.
Oh,
and
cool.
That's been a really fun thing, why this bait, why this rig, why this depth,
right.
And that's kind of now evolved into fly fishing now that he's gotten a little bit older, a little bit more coordinated. So, we now have the fly rods and the flies and, all of that equipment. So now we are, our garage is just, stacked with,
toys,
fishing rods and fly fishing rods and, all the things that you need to kind of go out and get onto the water. So that's been another great, kind of avenue for me to kind of break away. And
he can pass that on to his little brothers now too. He can, he has something to share with his little brothers. That's great.
Yeah, he has become the fishing guide for the family.
Oh, cool.
He really has gotten into it in such a big way. He reads all the magazines and loves to we've got like the guides to the state wildlife areas and the fly fishing guides for Colorado, and he's in there reading about all these places to go. And so
there's some great fly fishing in Colorado. Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah. He's probably got it all sussed out too. We're going here, we're going there.
Totally.
That's great.
Yeah.
How about books? Do you read a lot, or do you give books as gifts very often? Do you have any favorite books?
I do. I read a fair bit. I try to, knock out a book, once a month, every other month, something like that. Mm-hmm. I've been really focused right now on stories about, maybe kind of getting back to this question just a second ago around kind of perseverance and kind of overcoming adversity.
Yeah.
We think that that's a big part of, what Big City Mountaineers is all about too, being able to kind of teach kids that really important critical life skill. But, as well as leadership, looking back and kind of reading a lot about kind of great leaders in American history and the history of the world. I have just been really spending a lot of time kind of diving into books like that. So on one extreme, I just read Endurance, which was all about Shackleton's overwintering in the Antarctic ice sheet.
That's the book on perseverance, don't you think?
Yeah.
And also leadership, right? I mean, those guys followed him all along.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
I read The River of Doubt. It's the story of Roosevelt and his son Kermit exploring a never before traveled section of or tributary to the Amazon.
Right. Yeah.
And that was just an incredible journey of tenacity and perseverance and leadership, because things fell apart quite quickly.
I've heard parts of that. I have to get that. Read that. That looks a good one. Yeah.
And just maybe a little bit kind of on the other side of things. I just read Coach Wooden and Me, which was by Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. So that was really good.
I love Wooden. He's done so many. I've read a bunch of his books, and it's his pyramid. He was amazing.
Yeah.
Cool. Those are 3 good ones.
Yeah, thanks.
I'll have to pick up River of Doubt. I've heard parts of that story, but I haven't read that yet, so I'll make sure and pick that up, and we'll put that in the show notes so all you folks out there listening can pick them up too.
Cool.
What is your favorite piece of outdoor gear under $100?
That's a great question. Under $100.
Yeah.
I love, I still use and take with me every time I go camping, whether I'm backcountry camping or setting up a pop-up camper. I just love that little Yuko tin candle lantern.
Oh yeah.
I just kind of I've had that thing forever.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember. We sold
And
those at
they
Adventure
still
16.
sell the candles,
Yeah. Yeah.
that fit right in there.
Yep.
The design has never changed. You could go into like any Army Navy store anywhere in the country and find that candle size.
That's awesome. Yeah, I never thought of that one.
It always just throws like the perfect light at night. You
Mm-hmm.
don't want to like blow anybody's eyeballs up with the big bright headlamp.
Right.
And sometimes those lanterns are a little too bright, but that candle lantern, just a couple of days ago, I had that up when I was on a little backpacking trip with my 7-year-old and 10-year-old, and we were able to, play cards by that in our tent. To be pressed on it, here in 30 seconds, I'd probably say that's something that I use a lot. That's under $100 for sure.
That's a great one. And I learned a great trick with that in Nepal. I was on a river trip in Nepal, and we had a huge rainstorm, so our tents got soaked every night, and then they just stay soaked while you're on the river every day. But that candle lantern, as soon as you get to camp, you set up your tent. Don't put anything inside it, but set up that candle lantern right in the middle. You got to be careful. Put it on something so it's not going to fall, and light it and leave it run for about an hour. It'll totally dry your tent. It's amazing.
That's amazing.
Yep,
wow.
Yep. It's
cool.
These guys first told me about that, and I'm like, really? And then we did it, and I've done it. I did it in Nepal. I did it in Africa. It's a great little trick. So that's a great tool. I love that. As we go to wrap up here, is there anything else you'd like to ask of our listeners or say to our listeners?
Just that, I know this was a little bit on Bryan Martin and kind of my background and experience, but I really want to take the opportunity to talk about Big City Mountaineers.
Mm-hmm.
And, obviously the incredible work that we do is vitally important to so many kids out there. Really, really proud of the organization. And to say thank you to everyone who has been part of the organization, who's listening to your podcast over the years, whether you were a donor or a sponsor or a Summit for Someone climber. Mm-hmm. Thank you for helping us grow and move forward these now 29 years in existence. And to continue to think about BCM and think about ways to get involved and to support the organization. We feel like there's so many more things that we could be doing and need to do, opportunities to connect with more kids, and your support and involvement will allow us to make that happen.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. You guys have done great work and continue to do the good work. So we appreciate what you do. Keep it up, and I'll get involved somehow. I keep talking to Jeff about maybe participating in one of these things and teaching kids some photography stuff. So we'll have to see if we can figure out how to make that work.
Excellent.
Yeah, it'd be fun. And how can people get a hold of you if they want to follow up by email? Or obviously I'll link to the Big City Mountaineers website for sure in the show notes.
Yep, you can always visit the website to find our contact information. I can be emailed at Bryan, Bryan, at bigcitymountaineers.org. And my phone number is 303-271-9200.
Great. Well, we'll put those two things in the show notes, and hopefully we'll get some new joiners and some new supporters. And
excellent.
You guys keep up the good work. Like I say, you're one of my favorite. There's so many groups to join in the outdoor industry, and they're all great. I mean, we all do such great thing for public lands and whatnot. But you guys are one of my favorites. I think because I worked at a outdoor camp right out of college as an intern, and then
cool.
sixth grade camp. Yeah, so appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you for the time. I appreciate it. It's been fun, and I will follow up with some notes so we can get this all shared, and I'll see you at the next OR.
Excellent. Cheers.
Thanks, Bryan. All right, I hope you enjoyed that conversation with Bryan Martin. You can follow up with Bryan by email at bryan@bigcitymountaineers.org. Bryan is spelled B-R-Y-A-N. You can also find them on the web at www.bigcitymountaineers.org. You'll find links to everything we discussed in the show notes at theoutdoorbizpodcast.com/episode 125. Be sure to hit your favorite podcast app and subscribe today. Thanks for listening. Today's podcast is brought to you by InMotion Hosting. I've used InMotion Hosting to host my websites for years. Rick Say's Photos, blogs, Stillwater's Consulting, and the Outdoor Biz podcast are all hosted with InMotion Hosting. If your New Year's resolution is to publish a blog, produce a podcast, or simply secure a domain name, go to theoutdoorbizpodcast.com/InMotion and sign up with them today. They make it simple and quick to get a new site up and running with easy installation tools. That's theoutdoorbizpodcast.com/InMotion. Get going today. If you want more of the Outdoor Biz podcast, you can subscribe on iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, or your favorite podcast app. Be sure to go to theoutdoorbizpodcast.com where you'll find all the links to the episodes, show notes, and much, much more. And be sure to make time to get outside and take someone with you.